You have to switch us around, please.
Yes.
Oh,
There we go.
perfect.
Okay, but live.
Here we are. And the lighting's okay now.
It's better. I mean, plus I'm also like lighter top than you do, so maybe that's contrasting the light too. So
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I'm so glad I have all these technical consultants in my life to tell me if I have good lighting. You know, we all like a little low lighting and filters and all that stuff as we get to a
right.
certain age.
Well, no argument.
Not you. Not fair.
I'm
It's
not sure
just,
how to take that.
I
Good or
mean it
bad.
very positively. Men just
Okay.
look better as they age and distinguished and yeah.
Yeah, losing the hair is really fun.
Oh, that is really too bad. Blame your mom. Apparently that's where it comes from. Your mom's side
Yeah.
of the family. So this
So,
is Let's Talk About Dating with Barry and Christine. Hi, Barry.
hi, Christine.
Yes, we have a
Uh,
good time talking with you. We don't care what we talk about, but we're going to talk about the signs that you know it's time to leave a relationship.
yes. Ooh. Yes, this is a big one.
It really is because as I was thinking about this subject, I think of that adage about that if you put a frog in like room temperature water and you let it just start getting warmer and warmer, it just gets complacent and relaxed. And then by the time the water's boiling and it kills it, you don't even realize that it's happened because it's been over time. And so I think that what we can talk a lot about today is how to see the signs before the water's boiling around you, because
Right.
the health problems it causes people, the violence that can happen, the self-esteem down. I mean, there's so many detrimental reasons to stay when it's not the right thing. When it so has not been the right from the beginning, or something happened in the middle, or you're just now, you know, you've had it. To learn how to recognize those signs ahead of time and honor them and not ignore them or try to make nice about it. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had a couple of clients and some friends as well who've gone through 10, 20, 30-year marriages where it's like it was sexless from the beginning and they didn't choose to leave and didn't think about leaving because they thought, well, it's convenient, it's comfortable. And, they finally give up because nothing changed and they waited so many years to see nothing change. It's like, I almost wish I could have gone back and said, excuse me, maybe we'll get out now. You got 20 years you've lost.
And the other thing is too that if we haven't been paying attention, even if we leave, we're probably just going to take the same old stuff and have the same old relationship over again. And you and I've seen that and heard that a lot from people.
Yeah. I think we've done a
Not like
show on
we
that.
haven't done it in person, but we've heard
No,
about
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
Read it
I
in
think
books, seen movies.
I think we've done a show on that one about the repeat cycle of relationships when we don't
Yeah,
change. So if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch the archives.
for sure. And there's so much good information in our archives.
Indeed, there is.
And the other thing is too, what I hear a lot is what you'll hear as a single person, especially if you talk to married people about dating and the challenges, not the fun part or interesting part, but the hard parts. They're like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes can encourage people to stay in a relationship that's not right because they think, well, what else am I going to do? I keep hearing about this crappy dating apps and horrible people that people meet when they're out trying to date. Why would I chance that when at least this is a known commodity, even though it's not good? People
Oh,
stay for that reason a lot. I did. I stayed in my first marriage for that reason.
the number of, I mean, if we could accumulate the amount of time and energy people spend in relationships when they know they should leave but don't, I mean, there's centuries there.
Mhm.
So I mean, one, it's an important topic, but two, recognize that it's not unique. I mean, many people have done this. I mean, we've both done it ourselves, but the recognition of staying, not just where the point comes where you're not sure about the relationship, but when you know fully it's not going to change ever,
Yeah.
and you still stay there.
And it's not going to change and it's bad for you.
Indeed.
Because there's times when I've really helped couples go, well, this is who they are. You dated them like this, you married them like this. Is there a way we can come up with a negotiation where it's okay enough? And that
Right.
has happened a few times, not as often as I can't.
Right.
At least have that conversation, because maybe there is a way to stay, that you can change your attitude. So I have a friend who, she's been with this guy, I think it's close to 5 years. And he runs a business. She really wanted to be part of it. He let her be part of it. She wanted to be part of more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that he didn't want her to, but he does things at a very different pace. He's plotter and she's a race car zoomer. And she just complained so much, mostly to me, some to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept saying, what are all the good things about it? What are the things that aren't working? This was really the hardest thing that wasn't working. There's all these really good things about him, really good things. Let's find something else for you to do so you'll stop focusing on what you're not doing in the business. Well, now she arranges events all the time and she's
Mm-hmm.
having the best time, because it's a campground and all these people come and they like each other and they're seasonals and they come every year and they know each other. So she did a blind wine tasting, she did yoga, she arranged a hike, she did a shopping spree. Now she's happy because she feels like she's contributing to his business and she doesn't have to answer to him at all and worry about his pacing. And she says, I like him even more. I said, how about that? Well, and I think he's happier. I know he's happier because you're not crabbing at him.
Exactly.
So there's a place where it worked out because she stopped trying to make him different, because he's
Right.
not going to. The man's been this way his whole life.
Well, the thing is that it takes a very special pair of individuals that can be romantic partners and business partners together as well. So
Oh,
that's a rarity, just to be clear.
oh,
But the other piece of that is, and yes, there are definitely reasons when it's worth staying when you think it's time to end, because you realize miss the point of the relationship, perhaps in terms of the love, the gifts that are there, that you basically, through your own wiring, belief systems, blindness, haven't seen the gifts that are there. I mean, every relationship has its gifts in it, to be transparent on the transformational experience conversation.
yeah,
However, some of those gifts you just need them once,
yes.
and some of those gifts come wrapped in sandpaper, as Lisa Nichols.
That's a great
That's
visualization.
that's one of Lisa Nichols' quotes, which I love. It's about
I
gift wrapped in
love
sandpaper, because there are gifts come in relationships that are not for your benefit. They're detrimental and they basically weigh you down. And so this conversation in particular, we're talking about when it's time to end a relationship. Yes, we'll talk about what time to leave, but also what to look for beforehand, and also to start realizing that maybe what you're thinking is the end is really just a transformational step, the next level of the relationship. Because as you said with your friend, she didn't see what was possible until you showed her, and then she was like, "Oh my God, so much better."
So much better. Both of them
Yeah.
are so much happier because she's not mad at him all the time for just being him.
Yep.
I know. And he kept saying, I'm not going to change. He kept saying it out loud. And she just kept being so rigidly frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So now that she's just lightened up, she's not frustrated ever.
Right.
And now it's just, oh, that's him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She was taking it so personally, and it so wasn't.
But also what I get is that she got to really find her own thing to play in, her own sandpit, to really be successful and joyful in. So she had fulfillment from what she was doing that wasn't dependent upon him.
Nope.
Much healthier.
Yes, and he doesn't care. Just give me the bills. I'll pay whatever it makes you happy. See, it makes her happy and gets her off his back.
Right.
It's always a nice thing for both people. But it was so fun because it took a couple years. It really did, for her to get to this place. And I just patiently watched, because I used to be that stubborn, rigid woman about needs to be my way, and I don't see any other way it could be.
And you're the only one that does that.
No.
No.
I found I have lots of company that, and I remember Dr. Tony Grant a long time ago, the radio psychologist before Dr. Laura, she used to say, so ladies, and she'd only say it to ladies, do you want to be right or do you want to be loved? Those are your choices.
Yeah.
And my friend finally went, oh, not only do I want to be loved by him, but I want to feel loving to him. because she
Right.
loved him a lot and was so mad at him. And it just was so, when you see the end, she goes, "Oh, I do see why you kept saying it's really an easy fix," but it was hard. It took work. Yeah.
Understandably. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the challenge. I mean, we'll get into the conversation about kids at some point as well, because that's another part of it. Is about when there's kids involved, how do you end a relationship? But let's just start with just the two adults in the relationship, no kids involved, because that's probably the biggest point that most people face. Most of my clients, I'm just scanning quickly, either had no kids or the kids are adults now, in which case there's no
Yeah.
issue about kids under the empty nester type stuff. And for some people, they've chosen to stay together because of the kids, and when the kids are gone, they're not sure how to disengage.
Hmm.
And so, and the other part also is, and I know this is one that comes up a lot from my clients, is that they've had this sense after a divorce, or when it gets to the point of looking at a divorce or a breakup, that somehow they've failed. And so there's such a weight on their shoulders of going, I've got to make it work. I've got to fix it because this is the one shot. I can't do it again. If I lose this, I'll fail. Feel lost. I'll feel destroyed. I'll feel like I can't hold my head up in public. All these different things, which is frankly is not accurate. But people carry that belief inside because they're still running the tape. They got to do it right first time.
Yeah.
It's got to be for life.
I
And
bought
so,
that. I bought
yeah.
it my first time, hook, line, and sinker. You're so correct. That just lands so solidly for me. I made
Mhm.
my bed and I needed to lie in it. I kept hearing
Right.
that saying in my head.
And so that the idea of ending is not even on the table, because this is the one. You must make it work no matter what, no matter how much pain, suffering, trauma, whatever it is. Stick it out. It's like, really? So yeah, that's the thing, is that we want to talk about, first of all, that it's okay to end. Especially if you've gone in a relationship where you think it's to death do us part. I mean, my parents' generation. I mean, my parents did that to death they part. That was kind of normal. I mean, I remember I grew up in a cul-de-sac, um, a dead end street, for those people who don't know what a cul-de-sac is. And basically, it was a new development. So they're like probably 40 houses down the street, and there were a lot of families. It was it was all semi-detached houses, a lot of families there. And I remember I was probably about 13, 14 years old, and our next door neighbors got divorced, and it was alien. I was like, divorce? What's that? I had no reference point because everyone was happily married and living together. Well, excuse me, they appeared to be happily married. Let's just say that. And so when this couple got divorced, it was such an earthquake in the community, so to speak, because nobody had ever done that before. It was almost like, you can leave? No, it's to death do you part. So that structure from my parents' generation was very much built in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, especially, I think for younger people, that choice point to be divorced is not an issue as much as it used to be. You know.
Yeah, it was almost scandalous because my parents were one of the first in our social circle and in my school friends. It was hard to even explain to people because
Mhm.
it was so unknown in our
Yeah.
area. But yeah, and nowadays really it is so much more common, more
Hmm.
accepted. You don't feel like a pariah. And so that was when, you had to split your friends, who gets custody with what friends. It was very challenging
Yeah.
in those days, especially.
Yeah. Speaking of that one, actually, just another thing, because again, it's part of the end of the relationship, is when you do end a relationship, sometimes you end the friendships that are tied to the relationship, because when you were married or when you were together, the person, you became friends with couples, and being single, suddenly they disappear.
Yep.
And that's because a friend of mine who I collaborate with, he runs a group called Divorced Over 40, based out of Tulsa, and he did it because when he got divorced after 20, 23, 24 years of marriage, he had custody with his three daughters, but his social circle died. And so he started. What happened was he met these two other women who also were divorced, and they said we need to set something up. So they created this Divorced Over 40
Oh,
platonic like social circle
yeah.
to get to other people who've been divorced who felt adrift, to give them a sense of community and a sense of friendship.
Mm.
And they've done retreats together. They've setting up other chapters in other cities around the states,
Wow.
because there seems to be, I don't say it's what the numbers are, but people who go through divorce, that sense of being lost and not having any social circle or community after the divorce can feel pretty despairing. So that's
Hmm.
another conversation, is when it's time to end. what do you face when you do leave? You know, will it be as good as you want, bad as you want, different from what you want? You don't know.
No.
So
Yeah, and how can you talk, if you're feeling like enemies, with so much rancor between the two of you, that would be hard to work it out. So the thing that I was amazed with my parents' divorce and my divorce from my first husband, everybody went back to being friends. We were so much nicer to each other. My parents were like, oh my God, could you guys have done this sooner? Because it was, with them not living together, I mean, they lived very near each other. It was so much calmer. I mean, he still came to the birthdays and Christmas and Thanksgiving, and they just didn't fight all the time. And the same thing happened with my first husband. Was we got married so young, and we really hadn't figured out who we were, and so we really had no idea how to be a married couple. And there was just so much friction, and we really did figure out that if we'd been any older, we wouldn't have married each other. If we'd known better, we wouldn't have done it.
right.
And to go back to even better, it was better than when we had been dating, when we were divorced.
Yep.
We were just friendly and calm and reasonable. I mean, people would come to our house, like the realtor and I forget somebody else, and movers, I guess. And they're all like, we thought pots and pans would be flying around. We go, no, come on in, have a drink. And we were just super friendly, still living under the same roof, but fine, just fine. It was wild. It was really amazing to see, gosh, we don't have to fight all the time anymore. So here's, the positive sides, because you've heard the negative sides, and there are, for getting divorced, and the positive sides, that if it really comes down to, you do what we're going to talk about next, figure out that it is time to leave, and how to figure that out, and how to leave in a successful way, so that you can then have this calmer, more cohesive, more grown up, instead of both of you acting like you're 8, because I've certainly seen that afterwards. Because for the two of you, for the kids, I did weddings for a while, and oh my God, I saw everything. I saw people that were fine, and then people that they just couldn't even take their pictures together. And I go, well, go stand on opposite sides then. I don't care about bride and groom side. I'll put you as far away from each other as possible, but you need to stand there. You gave birth to this kid. The conversations I would have to have with these people was wild, because my parents hadn't done this. So it was really fascinating to watch the people that were still so bad.
Oh, yeah. No, because to be honest, and like with your parents' sake, it sounds like they were better friends than lovers, in a sense, that it was better for them to be friends. And that's the thing also, is that sometimes, and I've been in different relationships where I'm much better friends with my exes than I was ever in partnership with them.
I know.
So that was kind of a relief in a sense, because I was like, I must have aimed slightly off. It wasn't like I did a totally bad choice, just like, oh, should have been this, should have been this. Okay, now I get it.
And isn't that a good thing to learn?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, I like them. I like being with them. Oh, I just can't be with them full time. That's the challenge. And we're not taught that in school or from our families of origin. It's all or nothing.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I've said this many times in recent conversations in Clubhouse and in interviews, that in schools they had sex education, but not relationship education. I don't understand what's so crazy. We missed that point. Why didn't we teach people relationship skills, social skills, interactive skills? You're supposed to get it in recess? Seriously?
It's certainly not getting it from your families usually, because they don't know what the heck they're doing either, because nobody taught them.
Exactly.
I know. So we're teaching as fast as we can, huh, Barry?
So there'll be another topic to talk about.
For sure. Yeah. What kind of preparation? I mean, I'm a huge believer of marriage preparation, or even if you're just going to be moving in together, go do that. I'm happy to do it with you. Go hire somebody else to do it, because we don't ask those questions ahead of time, which is often how we end up with the wrong person. We haven't said, who am I? Oh, now I need to explain to you who I am. Then you tell me about who you are. Does it match?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we oil and water? Can we blend together with our differences and unique parts of us? But wow, we go into it so 3/4 blind. They say love is blind. I think that happens a lot. It's too bad.
Yeah. No, and that's the other part too. And this is about the beginning, talking about getting into the thing, and you wonder why we don't know how to get out. And this is why we're talking about
go in. How can you make any conscious decision about leaving? That is such a good point, Barry. It's just all so unconscious, so chemical. So, we'll talk. When I did weddings, I'd say, well, have you talked about money and religion and kids and vacations? Yep. And they're like, no, we're going to talk about it when we get married. Oh my gosh. No, yes. I talk about with guys I'm dating these questions. I know this before I've been with them a whole bunch of months, and they're getting married. I know.
And we wonder why people get divorced. Sorry.
It was such a good preparation for doing this part of my work.
God, yeah.
I had no idea the information I was gathering on these conversations, but I was amazed. And I look back and I don't know. No. My first husband and I never had those conversations. Oh, geez, I was 18. It would never even have crossed my mind.
And very few parents knew this to teach their kids anyway, so most of us had no clue. So we were basically blind leading the blind.
Yeah, they hadn't had this conversation either. So how would they know to teach somebody else to have it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have.
At that point in time, pre-married counseling, religious ceremonies were not, because usually they required that, were not as in fashion. And then and it's just been my little study, the divorce rate got so much higher. And I think because people got married and went, oh, you feel like that when you're married, but I feel like this when I'm married. That part of our manual that we hadn't even opened up, much less to look at ourselves or to share with somebody else. So I think that's a lot of how people end up either married to the wrong person, or they could end up being the right person, but you don't know with a conversation to have to get over the hump.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't work with couples normally, but I was invited to consult with a couple. Then to do a session. We did one session with them. She knew me through social media and she asked me to come and talk to them. And to be polite, I was going to say, to be nice, I'll say that I didn't recommend that they get married yet. Wow. Because it's funny because she knew me, but he didn't know me at all. But she presented such a clear case of distrust in the relationship, trust issues, stuff like that going on, that I basically said to us, like, you got to work on this stuff before you get married. And I said to him, before you two get together, just realize that's going to come out in marriage if you don't do it beforehand.
Worse, more.
Absolutely. And so I saw the wedding announcement on Facebook shortly after, and they were divorced in a year. And the thing is, it's like, I can't fault them for it because they just had to do what they had to do. But at the same time, I was, it's like the thing about the priest or the coach or the therapist that you see before you get married, which I highly recommend you do if you're looking to get married, even if you've been together 5 years or whatever. Before you get married, go see somebody as a initial observer or referee.
Yeah. A mediator.
Both sides of the pitch. Yeah, exactly. Because there may be some really big icebergs you haven't seen yet that are right in front of you that they can see, you can't. And the second piece is if they give you advice, take it. Because I gave them advice, they didn't take it.
It's been interesting, huh? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We can only do so much.
Right.
So some of the things I was thinking about that are really signs to pay attention to. Doesn't guarantee it's time to end. It certainly is a big indicator to have a conversation about it with yourself and your partner. So my goal before I get in a relationship is to get myself to be my best person. I'm happy, I'm positive, I have a nice life, I have friends, I have activities, I have work. And then it's even better, is the goal, when you get with somebody.
Yeah.
If you don't feel better, and oh my God, if you feel worse, that is a sure sign you need to have a conversation. And if it doesn't get better, leave.
Yeah.
You can't feel worse. You can't feel like a worse person and a bad person and unhappy every day. I mean, I hear these conversations and feeling like you're walking on eggshells, feeling like life is harder. Those are definitely some of the signs. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. I
Because
mean,
we both experienced those in our lives and with our
yes,
clients for sure.
absolutely. The the piece that all sticks out for me is also if you approach the relationship as like when they show up, my life will be complete,
Yes.
or when they show up, I'll feel better. That's another position where putting yourself in a place where they become the controlling interest in your relationship of life. So it's, as you said, like make yourself the best you, to do the work to fill up yourself, and to have a life that you like living that someone can then add to it is one thing. But to walk on in life, say, well, I have my life when they show up. You put all your eggs in one basket, which is going to get dropped, to be blunt.
Yeah.
So, and both of these what we're talking about here are really the preambles before you even get into a relationship. But really, the thing is when you get into that relationship, you start discovering how off course you really are. It's tempting to sometimes think that like, you're so great, you're going to save the relationship and make it work better, and everything's going to be fine. That may be workable, but if the other person is not in the boat rowing the same direction you are, it ain't
Yeah.
going to happen.
No.
So choose wisely, and then in the relationship, choose wisely.
Yes.
So when you leave, you can choose wisely again. So it's like choosing wisely before, during, and if needed, after as well.
Yeah. And to not give your heart away too quickly,
Yeah.
to keep asking questions, to keep learning about them, to find out who they are and how you feel about who they are, really
Right.
paying attention. What do you think about what they say? What do you think about what their beliefs are? What do you think about how they treat you? How does you feel when you're with them? How do you feel when you're not with them? Are you relieved or you miss them? And do you miss it because you felt better or just because they were company? Because
Yeah.
that's another reason people stay, because they get in a relationship because they feel lonely and desperate. And often that's not going to be a healthy relationship, because you're probably going to attract somebody who also feels kind of lonely and desperate. And there's a thing that I see on Facebook all the time. And I know people have said that it has worked for them, that you have all these broken pieces and someday somebody's going to fall in love with you so much all your pieces are going to go back together like a puzzle. I haven't found that. I haven't found that for me. I haven't found that for my clients. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I would never go that far. I think that the odds are really small. And that if you fix your broken pieces, you get your puzzle back together, you have a much better chance of meeting somebody wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And have it work. Because just because you meet somebody that makes your pieces feel better doesn't mean they're the right person for you. Because what happens sometimes is you've now met a rescue person who isn't going to like it when you get all fixed. They like that you were broken. And then they're going to want you to stay broken, because that's how they feel important. That's how they feel needed and cared about. And I watch that happen too. And I don't want that at all. I don't want that I'm their fixer project, and I don't want them to be my fixer project. We make each other better and we help each other improve ourselves. But I don't want to find somebody whose pieces are scattered all over the place and expect me to put them together. No.
No, the problem with the fixer is they almost want to break you again to make sure you can be fixed, which is that's where abuse can start happening too. I mean, not that's not the cause, but that's what I think is true. In fact, when it's time to end a relationship, one of those things I've talked about a lot in my work is, and I just had a Facebook memory of a Facebook Live that showed up on memories today on Facebook. Facebook memory, yeah, it would be Facebook. I'm like repeating myself on that, but I talked about how your dating choices have been run by your inner child, meaning because your internal younger self is going to has been driving your dating choices for many years. And I've talked about this in a previous show as well, so it's in the archives again. Back, what's the archives? Plenty of shows out that teach what we're talking about here. But to shortcut that to the cliff notes is that we tend to run repeat cycles through our dating life as adults because the same wiring is still in there doing the same thing. And for most people, because For some people, it's okay. For most people, it's a warning sign. When someone shows up that feels that familiar energy again, is the best time to walk the hell away. Because you know it's going to be a downward spiral because you've done it before in several relationships. So I know it's funny. I'm listening. We're always about not getting into one, not even starting about the ending one. So I guess we're saying to prevent you having bad endings, let's do good beginnings.
Boy, yes, that is our battle cry for sure.
Yeah, indeed.
Because just because it feels familiar does not make it the best relationship for you.
Right.
It could be. Just be consciously thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the kids because generally you and I do, the majority of our coaching is people that have adult children.
Yeah.
And I do end up with some with minor kids. And my philosophy when they ask me mine is if you can be cordial, if you can be adult, if you can be friendly, you can be in separate bedrooms, you can have some separateness to your lives. But if you can be reasonably calm and courteous, it's really best if you can stay together until the kids become adults. Because the challenge that happens when you do split up is you're probably both going to start dating and the kids are going to meet all these new people who are going to come and go and they're going to have to keep moving back and forth. And, you know, the kids, you know, oh my God, my shoes that go with this outfit are at the other house. And it's really hard on them.
Yeah.
So if there's physical abuse or mental, emotional abuse on either side, or you just cannot gear yourself up to be pleasant, then okay, split up. And I had a friend who's now remarried, but when she got divorced, the kids stayed in the house and the dad stayed there, and she moved to an apartment that wasn't far away. And when he'd leave in the morning to go to work, she'd come in and get the kids ready for school and off. So the kids saw both parents every day. And they did, you know, they took turns who took them to the sports thing, who did whatever shopping. And it worked so well. It really was amazing. So the kids never had to move any of their stuff, and the parents actually were the inconvenient ones, which I thought was really very grown up. Because as a kid that was from divorced parents, it's a drag having to share houses. It's such a drag.
No, that
so there's that way of leaving more adult.
Yeah, and that's the other part. It's also about about when it's time to end a relationship is can you separate as adults?
Yeah.
Can you have a civilized and conscious conversation that isn't kick down, dragging, screaming, hissy fitting, throwing furniture, all that sort of stuff that people do when they break up? For some people, I would suggest that they weren't in the relationship because they don't want to deal with all that stuff. They'd rather stay safe in a less than ideal relationship than go through the trauma of ending it, because they may have done it in the past where they just had so much pain and wounding and name calling, all the other things happened when they broke up, that they'd rather stay in a mediocre relationship than face that. So having a way of ending the relationship as mutual adults, having an adult conversation that is respectful, that is kind, that is caring, even though there's no perhaps love there, is the ideal way of how you end a relationship. But the thing is, that's a big ask for a lot of times when it's time to end a relationship is through so much pain and grief and trauma that getting back to that place of being adults with each other could be very hard to do. So for me, the challenge of this opportunity is, again, as you said way back at the beginning about the frog, in temperature, in rising temperature water, is you may be starting to get comfortable and start becoming adjusting to the new environment. The changes so slowly you don't realize how bad it's getting. But it's good at the times to check back in with yourself and go, is this what I really wanted? Ask yourself questions that are honest. I should say they're inviting honest answers that say to yourself, am I as happy now or happier than I was 5 years ago in this relationship? Am I feeling as loved, as safe, as respected, as cared for as I was 5 years ago? Whatever that timeline is. It's good to do and like a barometer check of seeing where you are now to compare where you were at the beginning when everything was so perfect. Because you may have noticed that it may not be quite as good as it was. Ideally, it's better. Frankly, ideally, that's the goal. But if it's worse, is there something you can do about it? Is it something you can have a conversation with your partner about? Or is it dead and buried now? Because it might be.
Is it temporary?
Yes.
Could be temporary. Lost your job. The couples I talked to during COVID who were like, we were really happy when we didn't see each other during the day. It was just we like each other. We really do, but this is too much together time.
Yeah.
We're used to coming and going, and we had our patterns, and now we're getting on each other's nerves because we're starting to tell the other person, well, you could do your thing this way, and I was doing it just fine without both sides. It wasn't just one or the other. Everybody was complaining about the same thing. So I helped them work on a schedule on their calendars about, this is when you go to your separate corners, and it's not that you don't like each other, it's because you want to keep liking each other. Yeah. But when you get something that's permanent, it's fascinating, because I have another couple that are longtime friends, long time friends. And when they married, he was atheist and she was agnostic. But he'd been raised Christian Science.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've been together 10 years and married 15 years. He went back to his Christian Science religion. And she had to really think about, why are you doing that? Do you expect me to? Are you going to change? What does this mean for our marriage? And at this point, their kids were grown. And they talked about, can we live this way? Is it going to be okay? Because we sure don't want to split up after all this time, but we wouldn't have to think about the kids as much. Right. And they really came to a place where he didn't expect her to stay included. And yes, they were going to have a tiny bit less weekend time because he was going to now go to church where he hadn't before. And she added an extra hobby to her life. So now they're perfectly fine. And it was this kind of tsunami or earthquake thing, but it got all smoothed over again. But it's because they'd already been really good at talking to each other about their relationships. They'd had this history of generally things going, just little bitty bumps. So when this was a big bump, they were able to work through it. But in the beginning, they were like, what are we going to do? Because it couldn't have been more different. I mean, This is really different.
That's a huge ask. That's a big change. And that's what I thought. That was when he said that. And she was like, they worked it out? Wow.
They worked it out. They're still very happy. And both of them are like this extra level of happy, because he really had felt like this missing piece, but you rebel against what your parents did because of course you know better than them. And she was really concerned that he was going to enforce it on her. And when they figured out, and she now added this new hobby, this place inside of them both felt that wasn't lacking in their relationship, but made their personal life feel more fulfilled. It's actually helped their marriage even more. So who knows how it could happen? But boy, that's really grown up.
Well, the thing about it is what it does, it up levels the trust and the communication and the honoring of each other, because they said, this is a choice you're making. And frankly, every relationship would do that ideally, is that it would raise the quality and the connection of the relationship, because it's now said, okay, we play at this level now.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm doing, and I want you to come with me, but do you want to or not? I've talked about this before, and it's in my book about the rubber band experience relationships. One of those three choices is when the person grows, the other one says, I'm going to grow too. That's the ideal. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much in relationship that is an opportunity for wonderfulness, to really start seeing what's possible together. Ideally, one of you or the other one is the one that goes, I see a way of us becoming more of ourselves, or more aligned, or more fulfilled. You want to join me? Mm-hmm. But of course, there's the other way, which is, I don't want to change. I don't want you changing either. Yeah, that's not fun.
And if somebody's insisting that you change, see, neither one of them did that, which I was very proud of them. If somebody's insisting, I will leave you if you don't. I'll give you grief every day if you don't. There is a reason to be considering leaving, because you need to like the person as they are. And people change. They just do. You never know what the change is going to come about. My friend's husband even was surprised that he ended up with this need. So can you go back to, there's so many other good things, and this is okay enough. It's not my choice. It wouldn't be my favorite thing to say you could do in your life, but I'm okay with it. Because you're not trying to, either one she didn't try to stop him. He didn't try to make her come. So impressive. I know. I was like, you guys are doing a good job. I'm so proud of
But to be honest though, that is kind of a rarity. It's not a very common experience.
you.
And boy, again, if anybody's, if you're watching this and you're in a relationship, but you're not sure where it's going, you want to go deeper, is recognize that you might not even know what's going to happen in 10 years in the relationship. And to be willing to have the conversation, to be, what's I'm looking for, adult enough to have that availability is where you get to have an adult choices. Again, ending a relationship as adults, we communicate clearly and have that place. But ending the relationship, because some people unfortunately end it as a car crash.
Yes.
It's yelling, screaming, wounding, blood dropping. It's like it's horrible. And so, how to end a relationship, actually, it's not so much when it's time, it's also how do you end a relationship, is can you do it as adults? Can you have a really honest conversation that's mature and caring and respectful? Because the thing is, you might be in a relationship where that isn't what's happening. So you have to almost remember, how do I become an adult again? How do I stand on my own 2 feet? So when you walk away, you're in a healthier place.
Yeah, it's what happened in my divorce. I was really impressed. We were both just in our early 30s, and we walked away with very few battle scars. We walked away still friendly with each other, where we hadn't felt friendly in our marriage. Mm-hmm. So I hope that people will see we talked about how to do some remedying ahead of time, how to have a foundation that can help you succeed in your relationship, and also to know when to end it, and to end on the most ending of a relationship is hard and sad because you were hoping on a future, but that you could end on a positive note, that's really helpful for you and the kids and your future relationship. Because if you're all caught up in men or women are horrible and I can't have a good relationship, or there's no good people out there, that's not a good way to go dating either.
No, they're affecting your next relationship. How lovely.
Yeah. But that's when they get to talk to us, so we can help them get rid of that old icky baggage that's getting in their face when they're trying to get in a new relationship. Because
that's why we're here.
We've heard about a lot of bad endings, and we need to help people sort that out if they haven't had a good ending before. So if you would like to talk to me, the way to get a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. You click on what's holding you back from love, and then we can have a complimentary conversation to talk about why are you not finding love? What is getting in the way? You can also send me a personal email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And you can watch my videos with me and with Barry on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram. YouTube. See? I go on a roll where I remember them all, and then I need your help, Barry.
Hey, that's why I'm here. I feel needed.
Thank you so much. And tell people how to get a hold of you, please, Barry.
Certainly. So, like Christine, I have a website. My website is my name, which is barryselby.com. In fact, all my social media is Barry Selby, except for one, which I'll get to in a second. If you go to my website, on the landing page, on the front page of my website, there is a link at the top of the screen where you can sign up for a Discover session with me. And we can talk about where you are now, what you're working to get, and how we can get there, and if we want to work together. At the bottom of that screen, you can also sign up to be on my email list, because I do have an email list that is receiving these replays, by the way, in case you missed a few. And speaking of which, I keep a copy of these in a playlist on my YouTube channel. So all my social media, as I mentioned, is Barry Selby. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube is Barry Selby. Clubhouse, TikTok, Twitter, all those things. And also on Instagram, which is the only one's different, again, different from the other ones, is the real Barry Selby. So you can follow me on those different platforms, get support, guidance, and definitely YouTube, because our show is on my channel. So it's in a bunch of places too, but I personally give a copy because I love building a library of resources for my audience, whether you're a paying client or not. And, check us out, because as we said during the show, we've touched on some topics we covered previously. So you want to go back and watch the archives.
Yeah. It's a wealth of information about dating and relationships. We have compiled, I was telling somebody how long it's been, and I go, we have a lot of shows together. It's been really fun. So fun.
Yeah.
So we're here every week at 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern, and all the times in between. Please tell your friends. Sorry?
Yes. Every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Tell your friends. And share this video with friends and comment questions. We love it. We're happy to have you suggest topics. We're always open to talking about anything that's in the front of your brain about what is challenging you in relationships right now.
If you need
With
help, reach
yourself
out.
and other people. Yeah.
Yes. And again, if you need help, reach out. We're here to support you.
We love
We'll
talking to you.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.